Gamers, you are not gonna like what I'm about to say. I think it's time to forgive Konami. I know, relax. They did Kojima dirty. They made questionable ports. They canned Silent Hills. They hopped on the NFT train. And perhaps worst of all, they haven't made Rising 2, which is crazy. I don't really get angry at video game companies unless they are getting rid of physical games or not releasing Bloodborne on PC. You know who you are. However, I can still understand the white hot fury and resentment that was directed at Konami back then. I was there when all that stuff was going down with Kojima. In fact, I was there when the story broke and it was wild. But that was over 10 years ago, and holding a grudge for that long is not good for your skin, I'm told. There was a period of time where fuck Konami was a universal mantra for very online gamers, and I still see it today here and there as a knee-jerk response to anything that they say. But Konami has been kind of on a roll recently, and I think it's worth recognizing that. Maybe my viewpoint is super narrow because I don't care about things like eFootball or any of those Yu-Gi-Oh games, and maybe things over there are a catastrophe, but last time I checked, all the franchises I love are in a pretty great place. For me, that feels like a marker that Konami has turned a corner. As a lifelong fan of Metal Gear, I was pleasantly surprised by Volume 1 of the Master Collection. I am a simple man, and giving me a way to play 3 of my favorite games ever in a convenient package does a hell of a lot to win favor with me. But they also went the extra mile and threw in some really cool bonus material like the screenplays and artwork. I know some folks had issues with performance, but I didn't encounter much of that. So as far as I'm concerned, for me, that collection was a success. And now it's working on a Volume 2 that is going to feature Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Making that game playable outside the PS3 is no small task, given how much of that game's code was tied to the cell processor. If I had to guess, they would have had to spend probably years rebuilding that game. But they invested in that because they know that for them to rehabilitate their image, they need to get the hardcore gamers on side, and getting Metal Gear Solid 4 running on modern hardware is a surefire way to do that. And then we also finally got that Metal Gear Solid 3 remake we felt like we were being taunted with when they were dangling in front of us in the form of a pachinko machine. And that game, Delta, was pretty great. It played it safe, but I think it was smart to not try and do too much with a game as beloved as that. Visually, I thought it was stunning, and the development team introduced that new perspective to make it feel like a modern action game. And they even went the extra mile and partnered with Platinum Games to remake Snake's Nightmare, which is really clever. Metal Gear aside, Castlevania is also in a really great place. The IP overall got some good love with a few enjoyable Netflix series. You can say what you want about the individual seasons, but that series is going to always get some love for me for that Alucard Trevor cypher fight where Bloody Tear starts playing in the background. That was pretty peak. But other than that, the Dominus collection, like the Metal Gear Solid Master collection, I think is a really well-constructed package that lets people play a bunch of excellent Castlevania games on modern hardware, which I was very, very into. And more recently, folks got hands-on time with Castlevania Belmont's Curse, and everything I've heard about it has me very excited. It's developed by Evil Empire and Motion Twin alongside Konami. That's a lot of the people that made Dead Cells, which when I was playing Dead Cells, I remember saying, this crew would be perfect for a new Castlevania game. Fast forward a few years and it's happening. It's as ideal a setup for a new Castlevania as there can be, short of having like Team Cherry do it. And then there's Silent Hill, which has been the focus of a lot of its effort. Bloober Team's Silent Hill 2 remake, I think, was fantastic. As good a remake as you can really ask for. It's part faithful replication of the original and part smart, really well executed expansion of it. With that one game, I think Konami and Bloober raised Silent Hill's profile to be close to where Resident Evil currently is, if not exactly there. And that relationship is continuing with a remake of the first Silent Hill, which now I'm very excited to check out. It's genuinely impressive how quickly things have turned around for Silent Hill after years of that languishing in Konami's IP dungeon. Silent Hill F took a bunch of risks with the identity of the franchise while making sure that it's narratively and thematically resonant with modern audiences. There's definitely aspects of Silent Hill F that you could pick at, and I definitely did, the combat being the biggest one. But still, it was one of the best games of 2025 for me. And then recently, people have played Silent Hill Downfall, which is set in Scotland, and I'm glad that reports seem to indicate that Downfall is shaping up really nicely. But more than that, I'm encouraged that Konami is willing to take some risks with that franchise. It is one of its premier franchise. So the fact that they're willing to like give it to other developers and let them do some wild things with it is encouraging. And after the cancellation of Silent Hills, which, was a dream team of Kojima, Del Toro, and Norman Reedus, it kind of seemed like Silent Hill's well had been well and truly poisoned. But here we are, a few years later, sipping on refreshing Silent Hill flavored water again. There was an interview with Motoi Okamoto that was published on GameSpot, and in that he said Konami's very serious about coming back into the gaming landscape, and that's why they had to get multiple Silent Hill games in development. I think he said by doing that, it lets players know that this is not a facade and they're very serious about coming back to the gaming space in the way that they used to be here. So Konami, I think, isn't the same developer and publisher it was in its heyday. But it's come a long way from the days of going scorched earth on Kojima and making Metal Gear Survive and then treating its health clubs as being more important than its video games and the NFT stuff. That Silent Hill 2 movie aside, Konami, I think, is as close as it has ever been to that heyday. And if Silent Hill Downfall delivers on its promise, I think we can probably pronounce Konami as being all the way back. Regardless, going back to what I said earlier in my opening statement, I think it's maybe time to forgive Konami and retire the fuck Konami chants. Maybe we can just let bygones be bygones and retire that phrase entirely, just keep it pushing. Maybe, I don't know why I'm so corporal-pilled. You might be asking, why do you even care? Why does it even matter? Well, one, I like to give flowers when they are deserved, and right now Konami is one of the companies that is deserving of it. And then also, truth be told, this is kind of all set up for an even more potentially incendiary video that I will make at some point soon, but I'll save all that for that video. Anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe if you can, and share the video with others. I'm streaming on Fridays and doing a news recap, so if you want to catch that live, join me on twitch.tv/TamoorH. And then I'm also putting like clips of some stuff that I've been doing here and on live streams around on Instagram and TikTok and various other places. So if you spot one of those, if that pops up in your algorithm, give it some love. Share it, like it, watch it. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.